Today I want to show you a really simple routine which helps you to identify low-end problems, especially if your studio isn't treated well. Mixing the low end can be very hard because it's not only what you hear, it's kind of what you hear may even be not true. And that's why I open here my Sonarworks. So Sonarworks is basically a room EQ, which helps you to get out imbalances of your room. So your room colors your sound like an EQ. And this is one tool which tries to minimize those effects, but it's not working 100%. But let's say we have like here in our room, we have a dip here. Because we get some reflections which do phase cancellation, and if we boost those, then we will also boost those reflections. So that said, your room isn't perfect. My room is definitely not perfect because I don't have like a super professional studio, and that's why what you hear is not always telling you the right information. Here in my room, I checked that I got like kind of like this low end sector pretty close to the zero, but here it's pretty bad. But that said, it's not always that easy to hear, especially the low end. And I want to show you a little trick I use when I do my mixes. And it's quite simple, actually. I have the span here in my master channel. And now if I would play the track, I wouldn't be kind of like really seeing low end problems. But the trick is quite easy, actually. You turn off everything which contains low information. Here, in my case, it's the kick and bass channel, and I have a channel for like kick rolls, which I allow some to have some sub information too. And if I turn them off, then it's fairly easy for me to see where my spectrum is going. And I want to have it basically above 100 here. I allow some leads even to go down to 80, but only like a tiny bit. You see like minus 72. Feel it glues it a little bit better to the kick and bass. But music is kind of like an art form, so you have to decide. My mixes sound probably a little bit more warm, and other guys like to have that crystal clear mixes, and then you have to cut higher. Depending on how you want it, you have to decide for the point where you don't want to exceed, and this helps me a lot. Now I can just like play through the whole track. And I would easily see if I'm crossing that line. So for example, with this one lead I have here, I would be crossing the line a little bit too much. So I would give it some EQ. And now I want to show you like the options you have. Now we will find the synthesizer which makes the problems in our mix. So the first option is, of course, we can solo and kind of like narrow it down. So for example, we could start with the FX. Seems to be not in the FX, so it must be like in the leads or in the drums. I'm pretty sure it's not in the drums. So it must be in the leads. So now let's check the leads. There are two things playing. It's that kind of like this one. I'm pretty sure it is this one, but I also will check this one. Because sometimes even in this high stuff you can have low information. Now we'll check this one. And interestingly, it doesn't really go over that 100 point. So now we will check the next option, because I'm still sure it is this lead which is causing it, but there's like an easy way to find out. You can just deactivate this lead. And we see it's actually, I think, this pad over here, which is doing it. But sometimes it may even be that lead, or maybe sometimes it's the sum of kind of like two leads. And with turning one off, you can find out. So if, for example, this one is also not causing a lot of these things, then maybe it's those two together. So it's this one. And then we can go here and we have actually several options when EQing. So one is we have like a not so steep slope, but we go very high, like 300, for example, here. And the other one is we take like a steeper slope and we can go more down. So kind of like the extreme case would be a brick wall and then going down here. For me personally, it kind of like depends. So my feeling is if you EQ the low stuff with like a softer one and go higher, it's kind of like a little bit smoother, but you're losing also a little bit more. And if you go steeper, then I feel it's not gluing it together so well, but you keep more of that kind of like information. So it's like a decision you have to make case by case. But let's go back over. We're like this. And I swear you, if we would have on the kick and bass and not looking here into the spun, we would never like see that in like a bad studio, or if you don't have much experience. I mean, there's some guys with good studios who listen to that, but honestly, I don't really realize that when all that stuff is playing at the same time. So let's maybe go a little bit higher. And now it's really important that you listen with everything together again, so that you can decide if this is really what you want. So even better would have been if I would have made like a copy before. And I think before I was with 18 and a little bit higher. And then you can still like A/B if everything is sounding still good. And as this is such a kind of like background pad, I think it's quite fine how we EQ'd it. And now we have like fixed our low end problem. And there's two more things I want to show you. One is here in this lead. One thing is that you can add those bell curves here. And this will allow you to kind of like adjust the steepness a little bit more granular. So for example, if we have the 24 dBs per octave, then we have like a little bit more steepness actually here. So if I turn this one off, then you see that it's kind of like moving the EQ a little bit. And you can also make this dynamic, but you have to be a little bit careful that you don't get too much confusion or like pumping and stuff in here. But that way you can even kind of like catch a few more of them. This is one thing I use sometimes, but it's also something you need to be a little bit careful about. And one more thing I wanted to show you, if you have like multiple leads which are kind of like stacked on top. It's not here the case, but here, for example, I have like two layers which are playing the same notes. And sometimes they can sum with like a lot of low end. So let's play those two together. I think here is fine for me. It's quite a lot of low information. But if you want to, for example, like decrease this area here 100 to 300, which can kind of like add a lot of like this muddiness to your mix, then you can just put them like in a group channel and then use multiband compression on them. And you set up like a multiband compressor which helps you to control this low end. And then you have to find the right settings. So maybe go with like a shorter attack and a little bit of release and not too much. And then we can control this area a little bit more. As said, I don't really see a problem here, so I wouldn't do it here. But that said, that's like an option. You also have to control those leads which are going together. And it's really important to get kind of like the low end stable, because that way your kick and bass works better. And with this small tricks, I think it will be easier for you in like a home production environment, like me, to get better results, even if you don't really hear them sometimes.
I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see how I make my bass line, then you should watch this video here.